Welcome back to the SVS Countermeasures Training video series on CAT and X-ray systems. And we're using the Smiths detection system to do a lot of this training for you. In this session, we're actually going to show you how you can download a recorded image of a bag that was scanned previous in the day or weeks or months in the past. And we'll show you how you can actually go into the system, find that image, download it, not only in the vendor's proprietary file, but also either in JPEG or TIFF files that are actually viewable, that you can use them for training or if you need them for an incident report or what have you. So the first thing you need to understand is to be able to get these images downloaded, you must have the system set to record every image. Every one of these X-ray systems have that capability. You just got to make sure it's turned on. And on the Smiths detection system, this is called online recording. And I highly suggest, especially if you're running a security checkpoint, that you're recording all these images. It's a very important factor, especially if something does get in or something's caught and that individual needs to be prosecuted or law enforcement wants to see or associate that bag to that person. There's a pretty complicated process legally that you got to tie all this together. And if you're not recording the images, there's no way you can go back in the system and pull it off, okay? So the first thing you got to make sure of is the system is recording. So with the Smiths detection system, and again, every system can do this. This is how Smiths works. Get in your manual, find out where this constant recording of all bags and scans that come through your checkpoint is done, and make sure it's turned on. So with the Smiths, you just go into the menu, you go down to what we call the IMS image store system, and you go into online recording, and you make sure it's recording all images. That means that every bag that goes through the system is going to be recorded to its memory. And these things have massive memories for this. I've seen systems that have 10, 15 years worth of memory of bags that have been scanned on them, okay? So it's there for your ability to go back and pull any of these images. Now, the most important aspect of this is, number one, make sure it's turned on. But number two is you have to make sure that this right here is accurate. This is the date and the time that this system is operating on, because all these systems record these files with a date-time group, okay? And that's how you're going to go back into the system and actually find that specific file based on whatever reason you're going to look for. So I'm going to give you a scenario. Let's say a guy comes to your courthouse, he's got a knife, they missed it in the X-ray, he gets into the courtroom and he starts stabbing people. Well, of course, there's going to be an investigation. And during that investigation, they're going to be, why did this person not find this in this image? So they're going to want to look at the image that the operator saw to see could you even actually see it? Was there so much clutter in the bag that it was hidden so well that you could not even see it, and that's why it got in? Or it was blatantly there and the guy missed it completely, okay? So that's part of the investigation, is to figure out why my X-ray operator was not able to identify that threat. But you've got to be able to go and find that specific bag tied to that specific person. And the way that's done is almost all security checkpoints have video recording going on, and it's all recorded to a digital video recorder. And all of those DVR systems have what you call a date timestamp just like that. And again, those need to be accurate, because that's where you're going to be able to take and look and go, there's the guy, this is when he's coming in, here's the date timestamp. You're going to take that date timestamp and go back to this machine, and that's where you're going to look for that file based on that time. Now, they won't be dead on accurate, dead on with each other. However, they should be relatively very close. And I will tell you, a lot of these X-ray systems have what I call creep, where when you set them, it's perfect. You come back a month later, and it's off by 5 minutes or something. It's never drastic, but it can actually be off. And you need to go back and periodically check that. This is extremely important if you're running a security checkpoint. Trust me, I know this because I come from the United States Marshal Service. And when we ran our X-ray system and X-ray operations, when I got there, none of our date time stamps were actually correct. None of our deputies knew how to download images. They were taking pictures of the screen. This is all half-assed, and you don't want to be doing it like that. You want to make sure everything's locked on so they know how to go in there, pull the files off, get the specific files they need, and everything is lining up. The video camera date timestamp is matching the actual file image so we can tie them together, especially if we're going to prosecute this person in court. Because that defense attorney is going to go, well, that's not my client's bag. How do you know that's my client's bag? That's where you take the DVR footage with the date timestamp and his fucking bag and you tie them together. If you don't do this, you're not going to be able to tie those two things together. So a lot of people don't think about this stuff, but when you're actually going to try to prosecute somebody, let's say a probation person who's a felon who comes to the federal courthouse to see his parole officer, he remembers to take his gun out of his bag, even though he's not supposed to have a gun legally, but he leaves the magazine in. So he comes into the courthouse, the CSOs, court security officers, see the mag. We now pull him aside, he's being arrested, and he's going to be prosecuted. All that information, the digital video recorder, the CSO, the images, all ties together so you can actually use that as evidence for a potential prosecution. Now that's a worst case scenario. The other is, as we said before, something gets in, it was missed, we got to go back and find how did this happen, how did this occur. That's going to be the more common type thing. So again, it's your digital video recorders, your camera's recording, you go there, you find the individual, the suspect, and then you see the date tag stamp and you go back to your system and you pull that file, that specific file off. All right, so we're going to go try to find a file that happened, let's say, yesterday, okay? It happened yesterday, and it happened at, I don't know what time, because I don't know when I last used the machine. I know I used it yesterday, but we're going to take a look. All right, so I'm going to go in the menu, and I'm going to go back down to that, for misdetection, that IMS image store system. So I'm going to go all the way down to it. I'm going to select it, and now I'm going to do organize and recall images. Now, all of this is detailed in your manual. So you should have a manual for your systems. You can get these electronically from Smith's Detection. I don't know if I charge you. But know the manual, especially if you're a supervisor, especially if you're a manager. You need to know these systems backward, forward, sideways, and Sundays. Because when you have an incident and you're trying to figure this out and you haven't preset all this up, you're going to be basically screwed. Trust me. All right? So I'm going to go into organize and recall images, and the way it starts is it's going with a year. Okay? So this one has only been recording images since this year, which is 2024. If you have a system that's been there 8, 9, 10 years, you could potentially have 2024, 23, 22, 21, 20. You could have a massive number of years where it's recorded those files. But if I'm looking for something yesterday in 2024, I'm going to select this one, and now it's given me a month. So I've only been using this for one specific month, which is 07. January, February, March, April, May, June, July. We'll open that one up. And we have a day now. We have 2 different days where this system actually recorded images when it's used. Now, if this is an active checkpoint, every day should be filled up except for weekends if you're not operating on weekends, okay? So we're going to go into, let's say, the 17th. We'll select that one. And I've only got one file that was scanned on that day. And here it is. Let's go try the other one. We'll see if we can find something a little better. 2024, let's go 06. Let's try the 20th. I got a lot more scans now, okay? So as an example, on this day, we're looking for the bag of the incident that occurred based on a specific date and time. And that's where this is, 2024, 06, 20, year, month, day. And then you have the time, 16/34/09, and then you have an actual file registry number. So 16/34/09 is the time. You looked at your digital video DVR footage. You see the guy come in. You look at the date's timestamp, and it's at 12:26 something. And now they won't be dead on matching. You can try to do that. But trust me, there's creep on all these systems, so it's really hard to get them all synced up. But we're going to go down and say, right here we have 1, 2, 3 files at 12:26, 20, 05, and 04. There's 3 different files there. So I'll scroll down, 12, 26, 20, and I can actually see it right here. So that's not my guy's bag. That one's not it. That one's not it. That one's not it. And you would find the actual bag of the individual, and we'll just say that one's it. So then we would just mark it with pressing 1. So it says mark. You press 1. You would hit the number 4, move copy. But before you do this, you have to have your USB plugged into the system. Almost all of these systems are like that. Most systems now today will have a download with a USB. So they'll have a USB port either on the outside, underneath the belts with like Rapid Scan, or they'll have a cover, a door cover, like on the Smiths here, is right down here. And you just open that up, you need the key for it, and you plug it in. Don't lose your keys, guys. There's 2 keys for these. There's a big one and a small one. The small one turns it on, the big one is for this door. So when you install the X-ray machine, make sure you don't put it up against the wall with the door up against the wall so you can't get to it. Make sure that door is accessible, because that's the only way you're going to be able to download your images on a Smiths machine. Rapid Scan lets you go in from the underneath. Most other systems do it that way too. It just depends on the vendor, but they are all going to have a USB that lets you download. You want this inserted typically before you start this entire process, and I'm going to show you why. All right, so I'm going to open the little door down here. I'm going to stick in my USB because I want to download this file. And I'm going to hit 4, move copy, and guess what? It doesn't see my USB. The reason is because I didn't install it or insert it before I went into this process. So we're going to have to get all the way out. We'll P2, get all the way out of this. We'll go into the menu. We'll go back into the IMS image store system. We'll organize and recall images, and now it's communicating with the USB. So if you're doing this and you didn't install the USB before you got to this process, it's not going to see it. So you just got to back out, start over again, and it'll see the USB. There's some USBs that they don't like. So if you've done this and it's not seeing it or it doesn't recognize it, it'll tell you. Let's try a different one, okay? So you go down and you pick the file you want. There it is. I'm going to mark it, and then I'm going to 4, move copy. And then it's going to ask me where do I want to put it, and right there's my USB. I'm going to press P1. Now it's going to give me options, and all will do this. They'll either do PNG files, JPEGs, TIFFs, whatever, but almost all of them will have what we call proprietary file that is proprietary to the vendor. This is a file that cannot be altered in any way, shape, or form, and that's kind of just a safety feature in case somebody's trying to do something hokey with the image, okay? So depending on what you want, the HIF, unless you have, HIFs can be taken to another machine or back to the machine and viewed. But if you want it for a download for evidence, you want to go to the TIFF and select it, or the JPEG. You can download all 3, whichever one you want. TIFFs are typically a little bit better quality. JPEGs are fine. It's not a huge difference between them. And then you would hit P1, and it'll say writing to USB memory. And you've now downloaded that image file to your USB to use in your incident report or to use it in an actual investigation based on an actual incident that occurred. So if you have any questions about this or how to do that process on your own system, this is typically always detailed in the manual, and I cannot stress enough how you have to make sure that the date time on your X-ray machines are actually correct. And again, this is adjustable in the menus. It's at a service level access or supervisor level access. Typically can go in and change the date time. And again, it has it typically by whatever zone you're in and all this kind of stuff. It even does daylight savings time and all this kind of stuff. But you need to make sure as part of your daily checks that your operators are checking that date time to make sure it's not creeping or it's, it's completely off or something. Or you had daylight savings time set correctly and now it's an hour off or whatever. You always need to check this because that time is how these files are recorded, and that's how you're going to find it. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is one of those things that a lot of people don't think about until they're actually trying to do it, and at that point you're probably screwed. But if you do some pre-op planning and make sure your stuff's squared away before you actually have to do this, you shouldn't have any problems. All right? Hope you enjoyed it. See you.